Welcome, everybody, to the Township of North Frontenac's regular council meeting for Thursday, September the 12th. Please be advised, North Frontenac council meetings are recorded. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Members of council, staff, delegates, and attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior or comments. We begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating these traditional lands as a gathering place of the first peoples and their ancestors who are entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so respecting both the land and the Indigenous people who continue to walk with us through this world. Today, the Township of North Frontenac is committed to working with Indigenous peoples and all residents to pursue a united path of reconciliation. Item 3, approval of our agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, second by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that council approves the agenda dated September 12th, 2024 as circulated.
Are there any comments? In favor? Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. A business profile, Lancaster Resort.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, second by Councillor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the business profile of Lancaster's Resort provided by the Economic Development Task Force.
Are there any comments? In favor? Carried. We have no presentations. Leamington Addington County General Hospital Foundation request for donation for MRI machine. Do we have them online?
Are you there, Amanda?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, Amanda, the floor is yours.
Okay. So, am I able to share my screen?
Oh, there you go.
Can you see that?
Yeah, just once you put it in presentation mode, it'll be good to go.
Perfect.
We're just seeing your notes slide.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I have two monitors, so it always switches around on me. Is that any better?
That's perfect.
Perfect. Well, good evening, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Amanda Chalk. I am the coordinator of communications, events, and major gifts here at the Lennox and Addington County General Hospital Foundation. For 30 years, we have been raising funds to help ensure a healthier and stronger community. We're an independent charitable organization governed by a dedicated group of volunteers that happen to be our neighbors and friends. And every year we provide funding to the hospital for essential medical equipment, services, and capital improvements, all with the goal of keeping healthcare close to home. And that's why I'm here tonight to speak to you about a project that we have happening here at the hospital, which is our LACGH MRI. The foundation has committed to a $3.5 million campaign to support this project. We are the smallest community in Ontario to receive this technology, which is quite exciting for our community and surrounding areas. The machine itself was actually installed at 310 Bridge Street West here in Napanee earlier this spring, about mid-April, and has been operational with about 20 patients seen every day since then. Currently, there's about 7,000 requisitions for priority 4 scans, which are required but not urgent, and by provincial standards is 28 days. The current wait time for these P4 scans is over 2 years. The cost is quite substantial for us. The machine itself is just over $3 million with just about $500,000 in construction costs. We were lucky here that we did have a facility that we could house the MRI machine as well as bone density and mammography So we were able to do a lot of the work here in-house, keeping costs down. Currently, as of August 31st, we are at about 73% of our $3.5 million goal. We have just over $900,000 left to raise to reach this. It's with the support of our community and members like yourselves that we have been able to reach this goal in this short amount of time. Right. And the one thing about our hospital here is that it benefits the entire community and not just us. We're all impacted by the future of the care of our community. Every area of the hospital is touched by the support. Healthcare when you need it. You don't have to be driving to downtown Toronto, Kingston, Ottawa, when we have the technologies within an hour's drive for most of our residences in Lennox and Addington, Hastings, and Frontenac counties. It also helps to boost our economy by creating jobs and bringing more people into our area. Okay, that was short, but
Does anybody have any questions for Amanda? Deputy Mayor Ingles.
Hi, Amanda. Do you have a figure in mind that you're asking for? I didn't see it in the document.
we are right now roughly about $900,000 away from our $3.5 million goal. So I don't have a figure in mind that I'm requesting from you exactly, but any little bit that you're able to contribute will help our hospital in our area.
Can you tell me what other small rural townships surrounding us might have contributed?
Yeah, so we have received funding from Stone Mills Township, the town of Deserano. The town of Deserano has pledged a 3-year pledge of $30,000. Stone Mills gave us just over $1,000, I believe it was. And then we've been working with the Greater Napanee and Atura Power Community Development Fund, who has pledged 3 years of $90,000.
Can I ask somebody on our staff what we contributed to the Perth Smith Falls MRI?
So we are contributing 5,000 a year for 3 years.
Wonderful.
Yes, I would observe that this township uses both hospitals and probably equal populations. So I think whatever we did in Perth Smith Falls, we should probably do in Napanee.
So Amanda, people that live up in Northbrook and Cloyne and so on have access to this? There's no
100%.
geographical boundaries?
No. So as I mentioned, the 7,000 requisitions are in our region come out of KGH in Kingston, and that number is actually being split up amongst the new MRI that's located in Smith Falls, as well as the new one in Brockville. The exact numbers of requisitions that affect our area to the west of Kingston, I'm not 100% on, but I do know that it is a quite large number out of that minimum of 7,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is just does anybody else have any other comments, questions? Okay, so Wayne, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just agree with John that we should help this one. Always the same. I know I go to Napanee all the time. I live in Hartwell, so.
Okay, the only thing is this resolution is just to say we're going to bring it, discuss this at budget time. Okay, so we don't have to make that decision tonight. So if there's no other questions, Amanda, we'll take this under consideration at budget time, which will be in a couple months. We'll let you know. Thank you so much for your presentation. We appreciate your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.
Moved by Councillor Hudel, second by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the presentation from Amanda Chalk, Coordinator of Communications, Events and Major Gifts, LACGH Foundation, requesting support for the newly installed MRI machine, and thanks Ms. Chalk for her time spent today. The council will consider this request during the 2025 budget deliberation.
Any final comments? In favor? Motion's carried. Adoption of the minutes for August 22nd, 24th meeting.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Udall. Be it resolved, the council adopts the minutes of a meeting held August 22nd, 2024 as circulated.
Any comments? In favor? Motion's carried. Okay, business rising, resolution 286-24, replacing the postmaster and the post office menu.
Whereas at the meeting, moved by Counselor Udall, second by Counselor Hermer. Whereas at the meeting on August 22nd, 2024, council passed resolution 286-24 regarding the closure of the Ardoch Post Office and instructed the manager of community development to investigate options, including converting an existing township facility for use as a post office, acquired a specific facility to be used as a post office, or leasing a property for use as a post office, and provide a report to council. Now therefore be it resolved that council receives for information an email dated September 4th, 2024 from the manager of community development advising Canada Post has received an application for from a constituent, and that if the interview with the applicant is successful, Canada Post will proceed with a site visit to assess the suitability of the intended premises. That if this option does not proceed, the manager of community development will continue to investigate options and provide a report to council.
Comments? So I was in the Charlotte Lake Post Office this afternoon, and I just happened to meet the lady that both Corey and I have been dealing with on the Canada Post side. And she told me that the interview had taken place and that the site inspection had been completed, but she still had to do her due diligence. So we're waiting. Okay. So at this point in time, I think this is a good resolution. Roy? They didn't give any timeline though. No. No, we've been at it for like 4 months and already, so this isn't, it's just, it is what it is, right? Okay, and in favor? Carried. Item 10, Clerk's Administrative Report, Communications A section.
Moved by Counselor Herbert, second by Counselor Udall. Be it resolved, the council receives for information Section A items of the clerk's administrative report entitled Communications of Interest.
Have any comments? In favor? Carried. Communications B section, action items. B1.
Moved by Counselor Udall, second by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the request from Tony Guida dated August 28, 2024, requesting to purchase a 2-acre parcel of township property next to 1212 Blackberry Lane. And the council instructs the clerk planning manager to look into this request and report back to council.
Are there any comments? Deputy Mayor.
Just wondering why we're considering this. I don't have any on this, for example. Isn't this a bit of adjustment sort of thing?
So this gentleman is asking to purchase township property, a 2-acre parcel, township land on Little Marble. So the township owns a large parcel that has frontage along the Mississippi River and Little Marble Lake. And then fronts also on Marble Lake Road where the Dempsey Cemetery is. And he's asking to buy that property.
In general, I'm not in favor of selling township owned land. I think we have far too little to start with. But that's just a general comment. I don't know anything further about this.
You're not being asked to make a decision. You're being asked to basically for us to instruct the staff to say, is it reasonable? Can we do it? Counselor Fowler, then Counselor Udall.
I'm looking at the map here and it says there's an old gravel pit on it. I just wondered, Darwin, can you tell us if that would affect that property from being developed? Because I know the setbacks are quite large for pits, especially the active ones.
No, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not familiar with this parcel or the pit.
So it is an old township pit.
It hasn't been used in years and it's not licensed, so there would be no impact on development from the pit.
The one in Snow Road was a licensed pit, even though it's played out. Counselor Little,
Just wondering, if we sold town property like this before? No. So I guess I want to, Don's point, like, why would we consider this?
all we're doing is asking Tara and the rest of the staff to look at whether we can do this. I kind of like to know if we can do it. And if so, is this a reasonable option and what any conditions around it would be? I don't like to give you work that you may or may not need to do, but I think it's something that we should know as a council.
So this would be sold at market value?
Our sale of land policy requires that it be any property being sold that's not a road allowance, be appraised.
Counselor Regent,
Just full disclosure, I live on this lake on the other side, but I do have a question. Wayne and I were just wondering, what is he doing with it? I mean, I'm reading the email, but it just says purchasing property, but do we know what the intent of it is? Build his own place?
email said wants to purchase property next to his parents with the idea hopefully of building there someday. Whether that happens or not.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor,
Anyway, get back to my question. In order for me to make a recommendation about whether staff spend any time looking at this, I should know something about. I should have a view on the possible purchase of this township land. That's what I don't know. So I don't know what to recommend to Tara.
well, if it's an abandoned gravel pit that's not licensed. Well, hang on. Is it a little pit or what is it? It's beside it. Okay, yeah, it is. The drawing that came with it was really poor. I could barely read it. I had the magnifying glass to blow it up. Anyway, what are your comments, folks? Any more? Councilor Regent,
I tend to agree with our deputy mayor. I mean, we don't typically do this. We're trying to build some affordable housing and we're having a tough enough time finding where to put that. So I would have to agree with John. This is a bit odd.
Councilor Hermer, then Councilor Fowler.
Well, if we did decide to sell it and we're able to, will we not have to post that for the public to bid on it in case there's other residents that may be interested in it?
That could be a good point. Kelly. Yeah.
So no, you don't have to post it and bid on it. That would be like a sort of like a tax sale idea, but according to your sale of land policy, if you wanted to sell a piece of property, and this is a creation as well, but say you want to sell just a piece of land, then it has to be appraised, and then whatever that appraisal is, that's what you would sell it.
Councilor Fowler.
We sell shore road allowances all the time. I don't think it should be too much different unless there's something special about that process.
Sorry, Councilor Good.
I was gonna say, that's a big difference. The short road allowance that we're selling is in front of people's cottage. It's not out in the middle of nowhere like this is, and this is a 2-acre lot.
Yeah, but that's our minimum lot size right now.
It's still a big difference in selling.
I
just a
agreed.
Road allowance.
Agreed. Somebody had their hand up here, wanted to say something. Was it you, Vern, or? Okay. Okay, so final comments before we call the vote? Okay, so. Sure, go ahead.
I don't know if it's loud enough. Can Tara enlighten us anymore on this, or is it straight up?
I really don't know a whole lot more. I mean, I looked at the parcel. I'm familiar with the parcel, being that our cemetery is there and I look after the cemetery, but I haven't actually been down to the water there. I don't have a lot of information. I didn't think there was a much point in doing a lot of research if there was no interest in me doing the research. So that's why we brought the request forward. And then if there's no interest in selling it, then I would do the research. If you're interested in knowing more about it, then I can do the research and bring back a report.
Deputy Mayor,
Basically, I don't think there's anything in it for us.
whatever the land's worth.
We tax the people for our money. We don't normally sell land.
Look at all your revenue streams, but it doesn't matter. It's your opinion. Okay, any final comments, Counselor Fowler?
I guess our purpose here is to see if the staff can investigate it. So that's what we want them to do, is to investigate whether or not we can do this. Right?
Essentially,
And I don't see any problem with allowing them to do some research.
it does add to their workload because we'll have to do some. And, you know, they are stretched out pretty much. So Vern then Wayne. Oh, some, I'm seeing things tonight. Counselor Good.
Yeah, it's not to, the staff has already said that we can sell it if we want to. It's up to us sitting here right now to say if we want to put any money, time into it for Tara to investigate more into it. But right now, what I'm hearing is we can sell if we want to.
Okay. All right. So the motion is, would you read the motion once more, Tara, please?
Be resolved that council receives for information the request from Tony Guida dated August 28, 2024, requesting to purchase a 2-acre parcel of township property next to 1212 Blackberry Lane, and that council instructs the clerk planning manager to look into this request and report back to council.
Okay, everybody clear of what we're voting on? Who's in favor of this resolution? 1, 2, 3. Motions, well, actually, who's opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion's defeated. Okay. Item 11. Proposed meeting dates for 2025.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, second by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Proposed 2025 Council Meeting Dates. That council sets the 2025 council meeting date schedule as follows.
You don't have to read all those dates.
Okay.
Okay? All right. We have any comments about these? Counselor Good.
Yes, with the turnout we've had this year for the 5 o'clock meetings, are we wanting to continue with that? It's putting staff in here at nighttime again and after hours, where we're paying overtime or time off in lieu of whatever they want, whichever works for them. But do we really need to do the daytime meetings or nighttime meetings?
So Kelly, how are staff compensated? The meeting here at night. Sorry.
Generally, the managers take time off in lieu of.
Wait. 1 for 1?
Yes.
All right, Counselor Hermer.
Well, I personally don't see where we get any more of an audience, regardless of what time it is.
Counselor Fowler.
I don't mind the 5 o'clock time slot. At least we're giving people an opportunity to come here at a different time, and I think that's important to the public.
Anybody else have comments? Counselor Regent.
So I think this whole summer meeting idea was a good tryout. It's disappointing to not see more people at our meetings, and it doesn't appear that it matters what time they're at. So I would have to agree with my counterpart here in Ward 1. I don't understand like why we tried this. And I don't really think these 5 o'clock meetings need to be necessary. Friday mornings at 9 all year round. If people want to come to a meeting, they will come to a meeting. The Zoom option is available. So I don't think having the staff stick around here after a long day is fair. And I think this is the second year we've done this. Right? Maybe more than 2 years we've tried this. So I would have to say, I don't agree with I think the 5 o'clock meetings need to go back to 9 a.m.
Just for clarity, you've only been a counselor for 2 years, so we've only done it for 2 years. Yeah, Counselor Good.
Yes, on previous councils, I've been here almost, not sure, around 20 years now. And we had evening meetings, and that's all they were. We didn't have the morning meetings at all. And we never got any more people coming here than there is now for 5 o'clock meetings.
Counselor Hudel.
Thank you for attending this 5 o'clock meeting.
I knew that was coming. I knew it. You're not helping.
So yes, it's true. Listen, I've worked in municipal government for years. Nobody comes to council meetings. But the 5 o'clock meeting gives them an opportunity if they want to come to council meetings. And I think if we take that opportunity away, we're not being transparent. So I think that 5 o'clock time spot in the summer is appropriate.
Deputy Mayor,
Well, then I'd like to propose we reduce the 5 o'clock meetings from a total of 6 to a total of 4.
Councillor Regent.
So was the intent of the 5 o'clock meeting because in the summertime, we feel that there would be more of our summer people here? Because if that's the intent, that doesn't jive anyways. I don't see my summer people until Friday. And honestly, like 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't think the issue is what time we have our meetings. If we're trying to generate interest in our council meetings, that's a whole other discussion. So if you're hoping that there will be summer people here on a Thursday for a 5 o'clock meeting, I can tell you from experience that that doesn't typically happen. So you want to have them at 5 o'clock on a Friday. We can talk about that, but you'll get even less interest. So I'm not sure the time slot is the issue.
Well, the time slot is the issue, because if you go back to when we were all running for election, especially and when we were in Cloyne, the all candidates meeting, and to some extent here in Plevna, people wanted to know, why don't we have evening meetings? And the councillors that were incumbents said, we've tried them and nobody shows up. And I have to give Councillor Good credit. He has not wavered from that position, you know? And the only time it was last year, you weren't here. It went through without a comment. But generally, that was the reason we decided to put them in. Like, I'm kind of like, it's fine for your store, but all throughout here, there's all kinds of homes. People live here all summer. If they really wanted to come, they would come. They would come during the day. But, and during the summer, you typically don't have budget meetings. You don't have meetings that are going to run 4, 5, 6 hours. We'll be out of here at 7 o'clock tonight. Maybe a little later, we'll see. But anyway, so I'm in Rice Camp. We give the people the opportunity. If you want to reduce it to 4, I can do that as well. But I think we should give the people the opportunity. They can come either during the day if they want, or they can come at night.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we have been given them opportunity for 2 years, and I don't know how many years before that. And there's also the Zoom meetings. There's once in a while we get somebody on Zoom, and it doesn't matter whether it's morning or night. If they wanted something, if they got something to be picked at, or to be on our case about, however you want to put it, I had the other word there, but I didn't want to say it. Then they'll get on here, but if they're not, and that's the only time people show up.
Yeah. You actually missed your point, because when we did this originally, we didn't have Zoom meetings. We weren't on YouTube. Councillor Hermer.
Well, I know before amalgamation, when it was Clarendon and Miller, we had our meetings at 7 o'clock and we always had public at that meeting. Now 5 o'clock is mealtime. That's one reason why we don't get too many people here at this hour. Secondly, most people don't get off work till 5 o'clock. So by the time they get ready to come here, the meeting's half over anyway.
Councillor Hoodle.
So Councillor Hermer has an excellent point. Most council meetings do start at 7 o'clock. And most council meetings in Ontario are all night. This is one of the, when I came here, it was very rare that it was a morning meeting. You're eliminating some of the people at 9 a.m. who work. So they definitely can't come. Most people aren't going to take time off work to come to a meeting. But if you're having it at night, it gives them some opportunity. I'm not saying that we're going to get people here, but you're giving them an opportunity. And that's up to them to take it or not. But if we don't give them an opportunity, they're never gonna.
Councillor Fowler.
Well, I see one person from my ward that's here right now. And I'm sure they have other things to do during the day, but I agree with Councilor Boyd. We have to give them the opportunity.
Deputy Mayor, then Councillor Regent. Councillor Regent, you can't follow that.
No. I totally agree with what Councillor Hoodle just said, and Vern. I think that's probably, you've sort of hit the nail on the head there. So then the issue is 5 o'clock doesn't work. So if we don't do them at 5 and no one's coming on at 9, but you still want to have them at a different time in the summer, then you're gonna have to change the 5 o'clock time. Maybe we do 1 or 2 at a different time and see what happens.
I'm sort of in, Counselor Fowler.
Want to make a correction. There's 2 people from my work here.
Yeah. I'm still, you give them the opportunity. On the other hand, hardly anybody ever shows up on the Zoom calls either. Okay, so Kelly, do we know how many views we have on our YouTube meetings?
Yes.
Is it a lot or is it just a few?
Give me 2 seconds and I can do a quick.
When,
Even on the Zoom meetings, it's if there's a contentious item like milfoil or whatever, there's always something. And that's the only time that they come.
If I look at our last meeting, there was 10 views. The joint meetings had 30 views, so it's been a bit popular, but our regular August meeting was 10 views. The July meeting was 19 views. The June meeting was 15 views.
yeah. Okay, all right. I think we've kind of talked this out. So the first part of the motion is, do we want to accept these dates? Yes or no? That means 6 evening meeting, 6 daytime meetings. If we say yes, that's it. If we say no, then we can amend the motion. I got it right finally. And we can either cut it back to 4 or put them all during the day or whatever, or send it back to Tara and she comes back to the next meeting with that new set of dates. So all in favor of the motion as presented? 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, that motion's carried. No. I thought it was gonna fail. I really did. Okay, that's it. That's it. Good. Thank you, everyone. Careful, they'll be taking credit for what Brooke brought today. Director of Emergency. Counselor Hermer.
Just a comment, since we're going to have it at mealtime, maybe we should provide a meal. They'd come then.
You know what? The Regional Waterloo, I hate to talk about it, they would start their council meetings at 5 o'clock. And they would have a light meal for staff. And I think they used to serve wine. And we had a council that had a lot of more mature people on it. It was interesting.
Well, I believe the city of Kingston, their meetings start at 7.
Yeah. Trouble is you're here, a meeting that ends at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, you're fighting deer and whatever else all the way home and, you know.
I can remember our meetings going until 1 o'clock in the morning. Or a lot later.
And how
That's
sharp
just
are you
not,
by that
that's
time?
not fair for staff at all.
No, it isn't. Okay. I will commit to this, though. If we don't get any better attendance this year, I will vote no for this next year. And you can remind me that. And you will. So there you go. Okay. Fire Prevention Week.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief's Administrative Report entitled Fire Prevention Week, October 6th to 12th, 2024. That the North Frontenac Fire Department is joining forces with the not-for-profit National Fire Protection Association to remind and educate local residents about the importance of smoke alarms, make them work for you. And the council declares October 6th to 12th, 2024 as Fire Prevention Week. And the council approves of the North Frontenac Fire Department's planned events and demonstrations. And the council instructs the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief to place a copy of the mayoral declaration and an advertisement outlining the events associated with Fire Prevention Week and emphasizing the importance of smoke alarms make them work for you campaign in the Frontenac News and on the township social media and website.
Do we have any comments? Counselor Fowler?
I was just speaking to our chief, Adam Robinson earlier and reminding him that October 2nd, the Soul Committee is having a presentation at Umpqua Fall, and it's about fire safety. So it's in a good time slot, and we're looking forward to that.
Oh, is there any opportunity to dovetail these two together? I'm looking to you, Counselor Fowler.
Well, I don't know if we can put them together, but the presentation is going to be there, and it's going to be one of our firefighters that's going to do the presentation.
Okay. Any further comments? In favor of this motion? That motion's carried. Item C.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Hudel. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the Manager of Community Development's administrative report entitled Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund Plevna Ice Rink Pickleball Courts. The council supports the application to the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund and continues to support promoting a healthy lifestyle for North Frontenac residents by increasing four-season recreational opportunities and the continued provision of safe, efficient, and enhanced recreational facilities, trails, and parks. The council approves the Manager of Community Development's application to the 2024 Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund. And that council directs the treasurer to transfer the estimated $3,000 plus non-recoverable HST from the Recreational Land Obligatory Reserve Fund to cover upfront engineering costs to submit with the grant application. And that council directs the CAO to sign the application for funding and to enter into a funding agreement with the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund upon the township's successful application for project funding. The council directs the Manager of Community Development to have phase one of the new rink project completed if the application for funding is successful and permits the Manager of Community Development to solicit businesses, community groups for sponsorships to assist with the township's portion of the project. The council directs the treasurer to transfer up to $121,994, which includes 10% contingency from the Canada Community Building Fund to pay the township's portion of the grant if successful. And that council directs the Manager of Community Development to explore future grant opportunities for phase two of this project and bring back information to the future regarding potential funding opportunities for council's consideration.
Comments? Or do you have a presentation?
I do have a short presentation,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so due to the Plevna Rink needing major rehabilitation, I put together a proposal for council tonight to look at a two-phase project to consider rehabilitating the rink and adding a roof structure, utilizing a 70% grant that's currently available from the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund, which is a cost-shared program launched as part of the 2024 provincial budget, building a better Ontario to foster healthier and more active lifestyles for families, make sport more accessible. The deadline for the grant is October 29th, 2024. Just looking at the township's strategic plan. So our strategic mission is empowering our community, protecting our environment, and our vision is committed to our community's well-being by delivering efficient, sustainable, and inclusive services that enrich lives while protecting the environment. Specifically, the vibrant and inclusive communities, which the outcomes are increased community engagement, increased four-season tourism, recreational opportunities, and continued the provision of safe, efficient, and enhanced recreational facilities, trails, and parks. This proposal fits within this section of our strategic plan. So the current state of the Plevna Rink, as you can see in some pictures here, the asphalt's undermining, the plywood needs replacement. The boards are in need of repair. The surface is unlevel and rough. There's old inefficient lighting, and there's currently, as you're aware, no covering on the roof or over the rink, sorry. Okay, so as I mentioned in the beginning, I proposed this as a two-phase project. So phase one applying for the current grant that's open, which is 70% funding. So phase one would be demolition of the existing structure, co-ramming, installation of a new concrete slab, new rink boards and netting, line painting, etc. The total project cost of phase one, including contingency, is approximately $394,000. Of that, the proposed grant would cover 70%, approximately $271,000. We do have a donation from the Clare Mill Community Volunteers of $500 with, if this is approved, they would target specific fundraising for this in 2025. And then the township's portion, the 30% less any donations and including contingency would be approximately $122,000. And then any donations received from specific target fundraising would be reduced off the township's portion. And then we'll also attempt to offset the township's portion by obtaining businesses or other local groups, donations or sponsorships. However, we cannot guarantee these funds at this time. So phase two would be the roof structure and new electrical and lighting. So I would be looking at new grant opportunities in 2025 and beyond for future install date if successful. The total cost of the roof would be approximately $303,000. And I just ran some numbers based on the 70% funding. Not guaranteeing we can find a grant like this again, but so 70% would be $208,000. And then a big one for this one is that we do have donations of just shy of $16,000 from the Hockey Moms and Dads who had raised this money previously for a roof structure. So that money is specifically to be used for the roof only. So that would be available for phase two. And then, of course, the township portion would be just over $78,000. So it is proposed that we would look into future grant opportunities for phase two and bring back information to a future council meeting regarding phase two. So just some benefits and supports. This project aims to strengthen and enliven our community, provide our residents and visitors with opportunities to participate in sport and recreation activities, and support the health and well-being of children, families, and seniors. So just going through a couple community needs. So this project is a major need and priority within our community. The closest rink and or pickleball courts are over 50 kilometers away from Plevna, and it's not manageable for many of our residents to travel this far. This project will enhance sport, recreation, and events for many years to come and will extend the playing season as well as rain, shine, or snow playing activities. We have a lot of community support for this project. We've received some preliminary letters of support and also some donations. So the Hockey Moms and Dads have been over 30 years as a group, and they raised this money quite some time ago for phase two of the project. So economic impact, having people travel into our community is not uncommon to a place like this. This will allow more people to come to our community for sports, allow our events to grow, and more events will happen and allow residents and visitors to spend more money in our community. Accessibility, so the project that is proposed here today would be built following the guide to accessibility and recreation, which will allow more inclusive access and play for people of all abilities. Also, this will extend playing times and seasons and encouraging all residents to live healthy lifestyles. Some future savings that this project would propose is so less staff time to maintain. Of course, with a roof, there would be not as much maintenance in the winter and summer as we will like. Rink liner, which is something we proposed last year in the budget, would no longer be required. Again, annual asphalt sealing no longer required. There would be some concrete sealing, of course, but on a less frequent basis. And energy efficient lighting and potential for event revenue in the future. So my recommendation today, as Tara has read, is that council would support and approve the funding application for phase one, would approve the $3,000 plus non-recoverable HST for the engineering to submit with the grant application, and then approving the up to $121,994, which includes a contingency, to come from the Canada Community Building Fund to pay for the township's portion of the grant if successful. And then also, of course, requesting permission to solicit our business community groups for sponsorships to assist with the township's portion of the project. And then phase two, just looking for some direction to allow me to pursue some future grant opportunities and bring information back to council. Well, thank you for allowing me to present and open and ready for questions.
Thank you, Brooke. Well done. Counselor Hoodle.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. I love it when staff give presentations. This is the ideal time to do a presentation.
It is.
Yeah, really good. I have a couple questions though. The way you're phasing it, with the roof coming second, you know, I'm looking at a construction sort of standpoint, you know, how that's going to affect if we went with phase one first. If there's any damage or any damage to the surface that we're going to create. And I guess the second question is there any way we can do this all at once?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we phased it that way specifically from a financial standpoint. It is an expensive project, so the recommendation was to phase out the money and not have it all at one chunk. Constructurally, doing it together is absolutely possible. The reason we chose phase one first is because there is so much hole ramming and the demolition, and you don't want to do that underneath of a roof structure. So that was our recommendation from contractors, was to do it in that order.
So I looked at the site this afternoon on the way down here, and it's a very difficult site to look at. I also looked at Charlotte Lake's brand new one as well. And to build this the way you're proposing is going to be extremely expensive. You put the slab in, that's all fine and dandy. You put new boards in, great. And then 2 or 3 years, if we ever get that far, you want to put a roof on, you have to operate off of the brand new slab. You start excavating down the side for footings, for lights and so on, or the lights are going to be, well, if you don't do that, you're going to have to support the roof structure. Now, Charlotte Lake's gone with trusses, and they are really big and they are really close together. There's a lot of timber in that. So that all that was donated, but so they must have got a deal on trusses. So I'm looking at this. I used to do this. I'm an engineer. I look at it and saying, let's do the whole thing at once. It's coming out of the Canada Building Fund. It's the gas tax fund. It's designed for this. 70% of 700,000 roughly is $490,000, as opposed to 70% of 300 and some thousand. And then maybe we won't even get to phase two. So yeah, I think it's either go big or go home. Because if you do the first phase, by the time you get to the second phase for a roof, it's going to be horrendously expensive if we ever get there. That's my thought. Councillor Hermer, then Councillor Fowler.
Have you seen the one at Addington Highlands?
Yes. Yes. And Denby, sorry, Addington Highlands are redoing the outdoor rink at Denby. And that's all donated as well, except for, I think, a very small amount, but it's an asphalt surface that's very basic. Councillor Fowler.
Just have a question on how long would it take to construct this with the roof?
I couldn't tell you specific timeframes. It'll depend on contractor availability. Everybody I've talked to, I mean, probably within a summer season, spring to fall would likely be achievable, but unknown the exact timelines at this point.
Would depend on the delivery of the steel. John?
Brooke, my understanding is that the 30% of phase one of about 125,000 was going to come from the township, and you were going to apply for a grant to cover that from the Canada Community Building Fund. That is, it's not guaranteed. Is that correct?
Correct. This whole proposal hinges on being successful for the 70% funding. If we were not successful, then your numbers would be not achievable.
And so suppose we're successful in getting 70% of the funding and go ahead, we're still on the hook for 125,000 coming from one of our reserve funds. And I don't know what the rules are for that reserve fund, and I forget the name of it, but I assume it's a fund it's only allowed for capital expenditures, is that correct?
For you, Mr. Mayor, if I could ask the treasurer to respond to that.
So we proposed the 30% come from the Canada Community Building Fund, which was formerly the federal gas tax.
That's
So
not guaranteed. That's,
Yep.
We have that.
we have that money.
$1 billion.
okay, so
So we do have the money in our account right now. And recreation projects definitely fits within their mandate of use of the money. But I do want to just remind council, when we are doing our 10-year capital projection plan, that projection was using all of the Canada Community Building funds within that 10-year capital plan. So taking the money from there is going to give us a bit of a shortfall as far as a 10-year plan for funding our current capital.
I guess where I'm coming from on this is looking at a $700,000 expenditure. When I recall that we were having trouble getting $10,000 or $15,000 for community improvement plan proposed by the EDTF. It just seems there's a tremendous mismatch here between priorities. This is an awful lot of money.
Counselor Fowler? Yeah. Counselor Fowler? Will you cast your priorities?
The only thing that I'm concerned about is this is gas tax money, and I know they can use it for different things nowadays. But our roads do need help too. So how do we look, we're gonna have to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Counselor Good?
I just got a question, is how accurate are these figures for this? Like, that's a big building and, I can't see $750,000 doing it. Like, do we have actually estimates on this, or is that what the 3,000s vote? And then we're gonna then try to get estimates to build this. But that seems like a lot of building for put in for that kind of money, especially even for the first part. I don't believe there's any, I haven't heard of anybody saying anything about any estimates on this. And yeah, this is a lot of money. And if we shortfall ourselves on the other parts here too, we're gonna make up that money through taxpayers. And that's not good.
Brooke, do you have an idea? Like, do you have estimates for this or?
Yes, so everything in this has been completely estimated by contractors who are able to proceed with this project within the last month. Right down to engineering, to line painting, to steel structures, to pouring concrete, everything I have a physical estimate on. So we do have accurate as of August 2024 numbers. And we also did build in a 10% contingency to ensure that if this project does run over, that we're not running into further expenses. We have the contingency built in within the numbers.
Counselor Regent?
Brooke, just so I understand, the first step would be you would see if you can first get the grant. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So so this is basically asking us whether or not we agree to have you investigate whether or not we would qualify for the grant.
So not particularly, no. So we do qualify for the grant. We have to apply. To apply, we have to have council's commitment to spend the money if we're approved.
So Counselor Hermer, then Deputy Mayor.
Well, as I recall, the study was done some time ago about the assets of the township for maintenance and replacement costs. And if I'm not mistaken, that was something in $2 to $3 million that we were looking at over a period of years, was it not? So, I mean, do we want more maintenance problems in the future? We can't afford what we got now.
Deputy Mayor?
This is not a financial point, Brooke. People are playing pickleball there now every morning on whatever surface is there. It's not perfect. It's a bit rough, but it's an asphalt surface and people are going every day. I'm not sure concrete is a good surface for pickleball. And I think somebody should look into that. When concrete cracks, and it always does, it's going to be impossible to play pickleball on a cracked concrete surface. I'd like to get a professional opinion on the surface. Any pickleball court I've seen is asphalt. I agree that concrete is probably best for a rink, but I'm not sure it's the best thing for playing pickleball.
Charlotte Lakes is concrete and it's sealed and it's a pickleball court dead center, just one though. Because they chose to go lengthwise as opposed to go across. Counselor Fowler.
The arena in Westport is concrete. It's been there a long time.
It's
They have
covered.
a pickleball court set up in there as well.
It's covered though, right?
Oh, it's been covered, yes.
It's indoors.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
an
this is
enclosed arena.
Yeah, this is just a roof.
Yeah.
Counselor Regent.
So how did Flinton afford to fix their structure so that it looks as nice as it does? Like, how did that come to be? Does anyone know?
Don't have any details on this.
Can you flip back in the slide so we can see what it looks like right now, please, Brooke? I'm not. Yeah, this is a mess. So, we're trying to,
That whole
Encourage-
patch right now.
we're trying to
there.
encourage people to come here, to live here, to move here, to work here. But then we start talking about this kind of thing, which would benefit, kids especially and people who play pickleball and the kids who, I hear this all the time in Cloyne. Why isn't there a skating rink? Why isn't there this and that? And this gives me a little bit of hope that maybe next year we might be able to talk about that. But, I'm not suggesting we spend money willy-nilly, but we have this mess and fixing it would benefit our township and all these people we're hoping are going to come here. And we keep talking about economic development and it's like a vicious circle. And then we have this great presentation and it's just, nope. Like, I think there needs to be a bigger discussion about this before we just decide that, we just can't afford it.
Counselor Hoodle.
Maybe this question's to our treasurer. The money that's set aside in that fund, what do you know what it was slated for?
The money in the Canada Community Building
Yeah.
Fund.
And how much is it, Kelly?
Well, right now, pardon?
1.1 or something?
Yes, so it has just over $1 million in it. It's not slated specifically for anything, but I have been using it as part of the financing of our 10-year capital plan for our planned spending in there, so would have an impact. So probably just on that note, going to be coming into budget time soon, is we just don't have a reserve fund for future items, right? We haven't set up anything to fund these future initiatives. A lot of municipalities have development charges and that would help fund sort of this growth component. But right now that's why it's proposed coming from there.
So the Canada Community Building Fund, can we take money out of there for roads?
Yes.
Okay.
We did last year, took 100,000 out last year.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm looking at this saying, if we just do phase one, we have to pay $121,000 plus or minus. If we do both phases and get the 70% grant, we're paying about $210,000. And we get it done. So, if you're looking at the 70% grant, it's more economical to go big, look for the whole thing. If we're financing it ourselves, then we would just do phase one and that would be it. Because if you're going to do phase two, then it's going to be tremendously expensive.
I can
Kelly.
just check with Brooke, was there a maximum on that grant?
Up to $1 million.
There's only 250 million across the province. So,
So let's say we apply for this grant, we are then locked in to do it, correct? Like, there's no,
I would say essentially, yes, there's still signing of an agreement, but once we have, maybe you can answer Kelly a little bit more on that.
I mean, I agree. I think there's an agreement to be signed, so we don't sign the agreement, but I would probably caution that if we said no to any grant we applied to, we would be probably setting ourselves up for future not not approved grants. So I would say if it really is, council needs to provide direction, and if you are for Brooke submitting the grant application, then you are committing to the funds required to do the project.
And what is the amount if we apply for phase 1 and 2 at the same time? To cost to the township?
You're approximately 200,000.
Yeah, I got 205,600.
Just keep in mind, Brooke did mention that we may be able to do some fundraising, or the community groups may do some fundraising efforts to help with that.
So thinking about this is the center of the township. You know, we have a school here, we're trying to maintain and whatever. It's not just pickleball, you know, there's ice skating there, kids play ball hockey, they play whatever they can, pick up hockey. We have Winterfest there, we have Summerfest there. You could have with the roof, you could have an outdoor dance, an outdoor party, you could do all kinds of things. Music concerts and whatever. It's that. So to go to Cloyne, you're going to pick up, that's fine, but you're going to pick up a lot of Attic Highlands. Here, you're picking up the entire township. So that's just my 2 cents worth on this. Counselor Good.
You're not picking up the entire township by having it here. That's
Well, it's in the center. It's as close to the center as you're going to get.
you're still not gonna pick up Ward 1 here. If they go to Clinton, it's closer than coming down here. And another thing is, if we take $205,000 out of that fund, or what kind of effect is that gonna have us in the long run? Like what's gonna have? Like we're gonna have to raise taxes to make that up?
We would have to review at budget time and look at the reserve funds and look at our 10-year plan and consider options to replace that money.
Raising taxes is the only option we have.
Do we not get annual support from the county from like the residual from the gas tax that goes up so much each year?
So we do get an annual amount from the county, as well as through this fund directly to the township. However, I have used that money as our 10-year plan financing, so we
Yeah,
may want to start looking at creating a reserve maybe for future type items so that you can separate it out, but we currently do not have.
If I remember right, there's no guarantees on that gas tax coming in every year either. It can end anytime.
Correct, it can, and we have a few others that, we count on that could.
Okay. Counselor Hoodle?
Brooke, I know you're applying for this grant, but are there any other grants in parallel that you can apply that could help with this? That that's have to research that obviously, but.
There isn't anything open currently. The problem with stacking grants, as we've seen in previous, is they need to really core align with the same dates. Also, we're not allowed to stack any other provincial funding with this, so that takes out a bunch of options as well.
Deputy Mayor?
Well, I'm gonna vote in favor of this, mainly because I like to see new infrastructure that benefits the community, and I'm persuaded that it does not immediately affect other flows of money that I was disappointed with earlier. So it'll be a problem in the future. I agree, Wayne, but I think it's worth it.
Counselor Good?
Well, my opinion, whether you like it or not, is if we continue this slippery slope, what I'll call it, in the near future, it's gonna cost us big time. And we'll be in like one of the other municipalities here that had to raise their taxes, I think it was 17 or 27%. Yeah,
17.
well,
And
we're
cancel
gonna,
their
we're gonna
capital
get into that if we continue trying to use our money the way that we've been talking about here, or not the way I've been talking, but I think we're gonna be in a problem.
Counselor Regent?
I think part of the reason that Tweed had such a high tax increase this year is because they have typically not done a decent tax increase and they had to get money out of their reserves. But to the deputy mayor's point, you know, we can't keep talking about economic development and never do anything. And this may be a slippery slope, but there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. And the township is not just this ward. Wayne and I get asked all the time about, quite frankly, why everything always happens over here. I mean, right? Do we not? So I would agree with the deputy mayor. I think this is probably a good risk. And this gives me some hope that we can do something in Coin next year.
Brooke, has to be done by 2026, right? Okay, so it's 2 years to pay for it too. 25, 26, it's probably 6 or 7 months to do it. Maybe 8. Counselor Good, you want to say something else? Okay.
Really, from what I hear, the majority's already decided on it already, so
I'm not
there's
so
no use
sure.
talking about it.
I'm not so sure. Counselor Hermer?
Well, my concern is, like I said before, our maintenance and the replacement of the assets we already have. Somewhere down the road, that's going to be a major expenditure. And we're considering even more structural assets.
Counselor Hoodle?
So if you go by that thinking, Councilor Herber, then we're never gonna build anything, right? So anyway, I use this facility quite a bit. I play pickleball there and I'm surprised it's even still running because my old knees and ankles get twisted in those holes all the time. There's really only one pickleball court there because we use the far end one because the two closer ones are two like this. And in the winter I skate there and it needs some work. So I think this is a huge opportunity for this township. So.
Okay, so we have 2 proposals. Well, the first one is the original proposal. Make the application for phase 1. If we approve that, Brooke goes ahead and makes the application for phase 1. If we turn it down, we can make an amendment to apply for both phases and go for the full 70% of the total cost. So our costs would go from about 121,000 up to about 220,000.
Can we not just amend it right now and work the other way?
Do that.
If you don't approve it on the amended one, then we'll go back to the original one.
The motion on the floor could be amended. If you want to, we would have to amend the amount to be transferred from 121.
We'd calculate that afterwards. Be about 205,000.
Would there be a change in the cost for the $3,000 to cover engineering?
No, there'd be no change in the engineering. You just need to amend it that phase 1 and 2, and then the transfer, correct me, Kelly, if I'm wrong, but I calculated $200,292.
If this passes, can we run with that figure? And then staff can make that change for a few $1,000s afterwards?
I'd probably just recommend rounding it to, I'm sorry, what did you say? I don't have the other number in front of me.
Just over 200,000. So either 201 or 205,000.
I would recommend between 205,000.
I'd like to move that we amend the motion to proceed with the whole project at once.
I agree with that.
Okay. So do we want to read this or do we all understand this? We may not get the grant.
Yeah.
250 million, it seems like a lot, but it's not.
So the amended motion reads, receives the report and the council supports the application to the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund and continues to support promoting a healthy lifestyle for North Frontenac residents by increasing four-season recreational opportunities and the continued provisions of safe, efficient, and enhanced recreational facilities, trails, and parks. The council approves the manager community development's application to the 2024 Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund for Phase 1 and Phase 2. And the council directs the treasurer to transfer the estimated $3,000 from the recreational land obligatory reserve fund to cover upfront engineering costs to submit with the grant application. The council directs the CAO to sign the application for funding and to enter into a funding agreement with the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund upon the township's successful application for project funding. The council directs the manager community development to have Phase 1, the new rink project completed if so both phases. The council directs the manager of community development to have both phases completed if the application for funding is successful and permits the manager of community development to solicit business community groups for sponsorship to assist with the township's portion of the project. And that council directs the treasurer to transfer up to $205,000, which includes 10% contingency from the Canada Community Building Fund to pay the township's portion of the grant if successful.
Okay. Counselor Good?
If this grant is not successful, this $205,000 goes back into the,
It only comes out if we build it. Deputy Mayor?
If the grant is unsuccessful, Brooke, I assume you'll be coming back with a cheaper rehabilitation plan for that surface?
Absolutely, we can look at that for sure.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Recorded vote. I should have known, it's been a while. And that's fair.
Counselor Fowler,
Favor?
Counselor Good,
not in favor.
Counselor Hermer,
No.
Counselor Hudel,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ingalls,
Yes.
Counselor Regent,
Yes.
Mayor Lickey.
Yes.
Motion is carried 5-2.
Do your thing. Thanks, Brooke. Okay. So manager of community development, local government week.
Moved by Counselor Hudel, second by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the manager of community development's administrative report entitled 2024 Local Government Week, October 13th to the 19th. And the Township of North Frontenac hereby proclaims the week of October 13th to 19th, 2024 to be Local Government Week in North Frontenac Township and approves the proclamation included in the admin report. And the council approves the Local Government Week initiative being an information day for grades 9 to 12 for local secondary schools at the municipal office on Friday, October 18th, 2024, if they are interested in participating.
Comments? In favor? That motion's carried. Great. Darwin, this next several items are yours, right? Wow. Or can you can do it from there, I guess. Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Grant.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Public Works Manager's administrative report entitled Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Grant Update. And that council approves resubmitting an application to the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund program for the second intake to deliver the Buckshot Lake Road project. And that the Chief Administrative Officer is authorized to sign the HEWSF application, and the Public Works Manager will update council at a future meeting regarding the status of the updated HEWSF application.
So this is the application we made before, but we're not successful.
That's right, Mr. Mayor, we submitted, we weren't successful, and they recently announced a second intake. We had the option of resubmitting or submitting a different project. This is really kind of drinking water, stormwater, water resources related to housing. And we couldn't come up with what we thought was a better candidate project. So the plan is to modify this application some to really stress the point that it does relate to housing and their housing benefits or development benefits on this portion of Buckshot Lake Road and resubmit. Otherwise, the terms and conditions are the same as the original approval.
Deputy Mayor,
Like, what exactly is the project? Is this related to the Hills Lake culverts?
No, this is reconstructing Buckshot Lake Road from the intersection at 509. Past the potential new skating rink at the community center.
there you go.
Over and to the top of the hill beyond the community center. So it's turning it into an urban cross section with curb and gutter and storm sewers, which it doesn't have now. So it's in really poor condition. The urban section will match the rest of the urban section in Plevena, and it'll address all the drainage concerns we're having every winter between the Anglican church and over by the M&R buildings.
So you'd be putting in some underground infrastructure. Is that
There'd be
right?
storm sewers going in.
Where would they ultimately drain to? It's the-
One, I'm working on a drainage easement kind of across from the Anglican church, and the other end will outlet beyond the cemetery across from the cenotaph, where both will be outletting where they currently do is surface drainage, but it'll be pipe drainage.
Mr. Hoodle,
So it's just going from 509 up, it's not going on 509, is that correct?
So it's going to just a short section of 509 this side of the white building on the corner where the curb and gutter is kind of settled there and there's some drainage issues, but basically no, we won't be redoing any storm sewers or anything on 509.
And we're successful in this grant, structure wouldn't start till next year, is that correct?
That's right. We have this grant included condition, you could be working on your detailed design. So with the last approval, they approved a design assignment and we went forward with that. So we have basically detailed designs completed and ready for review.
any other comments? In favor of making the application or in favor of the resolution? Motion's carried. Housing Enabling Core Servicing Funding Stream, grant application.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information the Public Works Manager's administrative report entitled Housing Enabling Core Servicing Funding Stream Grant Application. The council approves submitting an application to the Housing Enabling Core Services Funding Stream program to deliver the Ardoc Road projects, and that the Chief Administrative Officer is authorized to sign the HECSF application and the agreement for funding if successful, and that the Public Works Manager will update council at a future meeting regarding the status of the updated HECSF application.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
This sounds like a long shot, Darwin. Housing enabling and the two housing projects, one is for sale and the other one is Wilderness Estates.
Yeah, it's still, so this was a new opportunity that just came out after the other one did. Both related to housing, but this one is specifically for roads and bridges. And the condition, I think, that I feel we satisfy and that we'll promote is it's any road or bridge asset that is physically connected to a housing development. So if we take Ardoc Lake subdivision, it's approved. Doesn't matter if it's for sale or not, it's approved and it's potential housing development and we go right past it, we service it. And the other one, Wilderness Estates, isn't fully developed and again fronts, other than a lot like basically directly on Ardoc Road. So this one doesn't involve any engineering or anything to cost to apply other than our time. They do take some work, but it'll tie up the treasurer for a bit so we don't have to do any engineering to submit to it or anything other than our internal estimates. And really we need the key will be to promote and relate it to those housing developments and other, and other potential individual lots or developments along that stretch of Ardoc Road. So.
Yes, go ahead.
Once again, I'll compare this to other projects that I'm thinking about. The South Levant Road is in terrible shape. And it's our main artery for everybody from Ottawa. And I'm hearing a lot of complaints about it. If this kind of grant money is available for that road, for the Ardoc Road, which as far as I'm aware is in pretty darn good shape. Why can't we invent a reason to apply such a grant to a road that's in absolutely terrible condition?
I just can't see how I could relate South Levant Road to housing development. I don't know that I made it clear in this. It's like we have South Levant Road programmed and potentially starting some work on it this season. This isn't new money that I'm asking for at all. Our road needs study starts working in 2025 to 2028 on Ardoc Road. All I've taken those projects that are in the roads needs study that will probably ultimately be part of the 10-year capital plan. And I'm bringing them forward in this grant. So it looks like big money at 1.2 million, but if you add up those identified projects now, that's what the cost is. And we potentially get half of it funded. And this doesn't need to be one contract, and the completion date has to be March 2028. So we can do it in phases or separate contracts and award it and fund it over 3 seasons, 2025 to 2027. So it's you're going to ultimately see all that cost spread over a number of years, but this is an opportunity to fund 50% of it.
About $600,000 in their pocket if they
Yeah.
get this grant, based on what's already in the plan for 1.2 million. So if we fund 50% of it, we're down to 600,000. Okay, any other comments? All in favor of the resolution? Carried. Request to advance tandem truck purchase from 2025 to 2024.
Moved by Counselor Good, second by Counselor Regent. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the Public Works Manager's administrative report entitled Request to Advance the Tandem Truck Purchase from 2025 to 2024, and the council approves advancing the purchase of the tandem truck from 2025 to 2024 per the 10-year capital plan, and that the costing be increased from $380,000 to $415,000.
Comments? Sorry, comments? In favor of the resolution? Carried. Okay, item H, sorry. Mattawatchen Road Capital Improvements Funding Request.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the Public Works Manager's administrative report entitled Mattawatchen Road Capital Improvements Funding Request. And the council approves funding the Mattawatchen Road project in the 2025 10-year capital plan on a 50-50 basis with the Township of Greater Madawaska to a maximum amount of $340,000, and that the approved funding arrangement is contingent on North Frontenac and Greater Madawaska Townships executing a boundary road agreement and the required bylaws, and that the North Frontenac Public Works Manager and the Greater Madawaska Clerk Treasurer shall complete the required agreement and bylaws for council's consideration.
Comments? Counselor Hoodle.
So Darwin, our friends up in Greater Madawaska, they use their own staff to do the road repair? Is that what I read in your report?
They do, sub out the components, but they do a lot of the work in-house and administer it themselves. So they would sub out the pulverizing and the paving, probably guide rail, but they do more of the work from the granular and everything themselves. Okay. And they manage it.
Okay.
If I could,
Yes, Darren.
give a bit an
By all
intro.
means.
I know this is a hard one, and I know you're gonna have an interest in deferring it to budget time. But Greater Madawaska have been, they raised the need for this project for at least the last year. It's only recently that we had costing for it and numbers, and that's why bringing it forward now. They have it on their 10-year program. They have it scheduled and slated for next season. And so as a planning and moving it forward, and with the work they do in-house, I know they would like to know sooner than later. And it's a full reconstruction. It's not with guide rail culverts and everything. It's not just a resurfacing like we're typically doing. It is a portion of it's in, the alignment varies, and a portion of it is in North Frontenac, or short sections in Greater Madawaska, and then most of it is on the boundary. So currently we maintain this section that is in North Frontenac, and it's a very poor condition. They do patrol for us and always remind us, make us aware of when it needs patching. But it isn't easy for us to maintain. It takes, there's traveling time and it's just not part of our regular operation on that easy, but it's on our road needs study. It's given the condition, it's identified as like a 2024 need. It was identified as a 2024 need. That's on our unconstrained plan. When we do what Kelly calls the constrained plan, where she limits me to a certain number of dollars a year, then Madawacha Road dropped off of that program. But unconstrained, if funding wasn't an issue, it's identified as a now need based on condition.
So if we're lucky and we're fortunate it gains the Ardoc Road grant, there's 600,000. If we're not, oops. If we didn't get the grant, would 509 be the one that you would then have to defer or spread over a number of years? South Levant Road, and then there's 509.
Yeah, you've been looking at the program.
No, I forgot this since day one.
I would say, it will help. Anything we can do on South Levant this year will kind of reduce what we need for South Levant next season. But you're right. If we're looking at next year's program, there was the entire length of South Levant and a section on 509, and South Levant would be the higher priority, would be my recommendation. But
what happens if we don't do it? If we say, no, we don't have any funding for 2 years?
well, we'll be up there patching a lot, and I strongly recommend that one, we approve it and that we can approve it now and make a commitment to Greater Madawaska, and we're paying 50% on it.
We're locked into that anyway, right?
We would be with a boundary road agreement. The boundary, I couldn't find an older boundary road agreement with Greater Madawaska for this. But we've been dealing together on a boundary road agreement in which addresses the 50% funding. We both reviewed it and commented on it. We just haven't finalized it. And it would come to council because it requires a bylaw to adopt it.
Okay, so my final comment then, if we do this, then we have the capacity within our asset or capital plan to rework some of the, like 509 may survive another year or something. If we had to, we could make those adjustments.
We would have to as necessary. If you
So
give me
hard to-
additional funding in 2025, like you did in 2024, that would really help.
Well, if that works out, we're working on that for you. Okay. Any other comments? In favor of this resolution? Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay, item 12, Environmental Task Force.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information the notes of a meeting of the Environmental Task Force held August 28th, 2024.
Comments? In favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Economic Development Task Force.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be resolved that council receives for information the notes of a meeting of the Economic Development Task Force held August 19th, 2024. And the council directs the manager of community development to include the following in the draft proposed 2025 budget for consideration. $30,000 community improvement plan, 2025 top up, $10,000 Summerfest budget, and a part-time staff to assist with economic community development.
Comments? Counselor Good?
Is this in the budget at the start of the year?
Not yet.
So this is an additional?
This is asking us to put that in for us to discuss it. Because these are the items that we had last year, we had the problems with, or we had a lot of discussion about. Okay. Any other comments? In favor? Carried. Committee of Adjustment, Planning Advisory Committee.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good. Be resolved that council receives for information the minutes of a meeting of the Committee of Adjustment Planning Advisory Committee held July 22nd, 2024.
Comments? In favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 13, anyone wish to give notice of motion? Seeing none, we have nothing for item 14. Council portfolio verbal reports. Okay, so as the mayor, we have not had a county council meeting. Next one is next week. They do not have one in August, and the rest of the time they're once a month. I did meet with Bruce Moore from the North Frontenac Lake Association Alliance. And it was an okay discussion. We talked about septic systems, we talked about short-term rentals and a number in this community permit system. The other item is the Municipal Service Corporation. I'm gonna let Roy put some of that in because Roy's on the technical committee for this, and he knows more than I do about this at this point in time because he's working with all the nuts and bolts. So next item is, the next individual is Councillor Wayne Good. Councillor Regent.
So you're all aware, Monday, we are meeting at the Family Health Team to congratulate Dr. Weldon on signing his agreement. I will have an EGM coming up soon for my long-term care and social services portfolio, so that's great. Nothing for my lake associations outside of the obvious, which we talked about on Monday regarding Mazenau Lake. And I have no updates from the OPP for the detachment board. That seems to be a little slow moving at the moment, so that would be it for me.
Councillor Hoodoo.
The MVCA board meeting was this past Monday, which I missed because I was here. I haven't looked at the minutes yet. They haven't come out, so I'll report on that on the next meeting. As far as the mayor's talked about the municipal services, right now we're in the process of developing an RFP to hire an operator. This operator will give operational advice, engineering advice to how we're going to set up the corporation and on the operational side of it. I think that is going to go to your board meeting. I think we're going to approve that for your board meeting, so you have a chance to see it there. And I've had no Lake Association meetings.
Okay, so just on the Frontenac Municipal Service Corporation, all the townships have about $600,000 total in there, but we also have $120,000 from EORN, and we're using that money to develop all these templates and so on. It's not coming out of our money. Go ahead.
Just to continue on that, it's really interesting that, this is the North Frontenac Municipal Service Corporation, but the amount of municipalities in Ontario that are interested in this model. And so it might expand further than we thought.
And it's another $1 million sitting there,
Yeah.
maybe. So we have our hand out every chance we get to see what we can do, because we Frontenac County is the lead in this. It's there, this model exists in some other places, but Frontenac County is one that's been front and center, pushing it and so on. Okay, so Councilor Hermer, oh, sorry, John,
I think Joe Gallivan is at OEMC in Ottawa right now talking about this.
yeah. Yep. Councilor Hermer,
Nothing to report.
Councilor Fowler,
Yes, the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance, their next meeting is next Wednesday, September 18th. That's the same day that we have our county meeting, so the county meeting's gonna win over.
that's good.
But during that meeting, they're gonna be reviewing the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs agreement. And hopefully it'll be signed and passed on to them.
Okay,
With the nothing on North Frontenac Trails Enhancement, the county business, again, same as you. The meeting will be next week. Lake Association Ward 3 Lakes, I see 2 people here from the Palmerston Lakes. Nothing to report since your AGM, and I reported on that. Also, seniors and law enforcement together. There is a SALT presentation in Sharpert Lake next Tuesday on September 17th at 4 p.m. And that's going to be put on by the OPP regarding the mobile crisis for seniors. Also, the second thing is the SALT is combined with the community cafe at Ompa Community Center for North Frontenac Fire Safety, which will be on October 2nd at 11 a.m. at Ompa Community Center.
thank you, one and all. Introduction and reading of bylaws, we have none. Public,
I have nothing to say about.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I really do.
I only get one line.
maybe, I won't say, okay. So, public forum, anybody online or anybody in the council chambers, you're free to bring up anything or discuss or make comments on anything we discussed today? No? Okay. We don't have a closed session, so the confirmatory bylaw,
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good, be it resolved that bylaw 2024-57, being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of council for its regular meeting held September 12th, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
comments? In favor? Motion is carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Counselor Regent, second by Counselor Good, be resolved the council adjourns the meeting at 6:38 p.m. until October 4th, 2024 at the call of the chair.
Comments? In favor? Carried. That's it, folks. If you have anything to